The purpose of this lesson is for you to better understand the following concepts: what plagiarism means and how to avoid it, misrepresentation due to contract cheating, collusion, copying and pasting, and recycling. It also demonstrates how to recognize instances of plagiarism and goes over the various consequences of plagiarizing. Do you really know what plagiarism means? You need to understand it because plagiarism is one of the most frequent academic integrity violations. It ranges in severity from blatant plagiarism, where students simply submit entire works that are not their own, for example, a paper they purchased online, to accidental plagiarism, where students really try to do honest work but still accidentally plagiarize. In the end, plagiarism is the misrepresentation of something you did not create as your own work. Let's look at the most common kinds of plagiarism. The most severe form of misrepresentation of something as your own is called contract cheating, which happens every time a person completes an assignment for students and the student then submits it as their own. This kind of plagiarism has the most severe consequences. Contract cheating can happen in 3 ways: submitting a paper from a so-called tutoring service or essay mill for which you paid and representing it as your own; submitting a paper that someone else wrote for you, for example, a friend or a family member, as your own, no matter if you paid for it or not; and even producing a work for a fellow student, with or without being paid, which they then submit as their own. In this case, you are deliberately aiding another student to behave fraudulently, and both of you will be subject to disciplinary action. Another form of plagiarism is working with others on an assignment that is supposed to be your individual work. This kind of plagiarism is called collusion and includes working on individual assignments with a classmate, discussing online quizzes and exams with others, receiving unauthorized help from a tutor or other person to complete assignments, and, in group projects, misrepresenting the individual contributions of the group members. Contract cheating and collusion both defeat the purpose of an assignment. Assignments help instructors evaluate your understanding, so if you don't do your own work, your instructor cannot give a fair evaluation, help you improve your writing, nor give you an accurate grade. By not doing the work yourself, you are also putting yourself in an unfair advantage over your fellow students who put in the effort and do their own work. Lastly, any kind of plagiarism makes your own education less effective and valuable, as you will not improve your skills and your credentials don't end up having any value. What is the difference between collaboration and collusion? Is working with other students always cheating? Often your classes will encourage collaboration on projects, but collusion is plagiarism. Collusion means working together with others, although explicitly being told to work individually. This practice is not acceptable and an academic integrity violation. Collaboration means working together on an assignment as a group, as explicitly permitted or required by your instructor. This practice is acceptable. And remember another important fact. In group work, you must clearly indicate what part is the group's work and what parts are your own individual contributions. Wait! When you work on a research project, you are encouraged to use information from other sources to support your arguments. As long as you quote, paraphrase, or summarize properly and cite your sources, you are not plagiarizing. However, copying and pasting whole chunks of information is poor scholarship and does not reflect any learning or understanding on your part. You must learn to analyze, examine and interpret information, then synthesize. Use the research information to create new meaning. Copying and pasting is lazy and will earn you a very poor grade, even if you cite your sources. Not citing your sources is another kind of plagiarism. The first kind of copy and paste plagiarism we will look at is called the clone. That's when you find information online or elsewhere and simply copy it and paste it into your paper without summarizing or paraphrasing and without citing the source. Plagiarism, plain and simple. The second kind of copying and pasting plagiarism you need to understand is called the mosaic. You know how a mosaic is made up of pieces of glass or other materials glued on a surface to create a new piece of art? Well, when you borrow chunks of information, quotes for example, from other works, and just paste them into your paper with perhaps a sentence or transition here or there, and don't cite those chunks as quotations and give the original author credit, and you don't add any original material of your own, that's a mosaic, and it's plagiarism. You must learn to analyze the material you reference, to break it down and really understand it. Then to take ideas from a variety of sources and synthesize them into something new that represents your original ideas and thoughts, although they will be influenced and supported by your research. Often, because they have not learned how to analyze, synthesize, paraphrase, summarize, and correctly cite sources, students use the copy, paste, replace method of plagiarism and don't even realize that they are plagiarizing. Copying and pasting everything or passages from one or multiple sources without citing, then replacing a few words here and there to make the writing sound a little different, maybe adding a little original thought, but not synthesizing ideas from your research into a new and original essay, is not legitimate research. What if the information is something that everybody knows? In some instances, giving credit is not necessary. When is that? When including information that is generally considered common knowledge. You do not need to cite a source. The common knowledge exception usually includes things like dates, facts, names, and other information easily found in general reference books. For example, the United States was founded in 1776, has 50 states, and sent astronauts to the moon in 1969. Common knowledge exceptions may also apply within a particular group and therefore depends on the expected audience of readers. Be careful what you use as common knowledge, though. When in doubt, go ahead and cite the information. Did you know that you can be accused of plagiarism if you use over 3 consecutive words of someone else's work without citing it as a quotation? You are expected to submit your own work, and that work must be new and original. Let's also look at recycling. No, not taking your Amazon boxes to the curb on trash day. We are talking about recycling your own work from previous classes. You are expected to submit your own work in your college classes, and that work must be new and original to each assignment unless otherwise specified. Recycling is a form of plagiarism called self-plagiarism. It refers to submitting your own previous work, entirely or partially, in another course as new and original. That is not to say that your current research won't be useful in your future academic and professional careers. You learn from every research project you complete, and you will find yourself building on past research if it's relevant to your career plans and interests. You'll become familiar with sources and concepts, and you can always cite yourself too. Just don't rely on yourself as a source too heavily. One way to spot an unreliable source is that they themselves mostly rely on their own work instead of reaching out and integrating other ideas. Recap. We have learned that plagiarism violates the principle of academic integrity and its 6 values of honesty, trust, fairness, respect, responsibility, and courage, can be intentional or unintentional. Is misrepresenting other people's intellectual output as your own, even if you use it with permission or are paid for it, is ethically wrong because it disregards someone's previous intellectual output, can have severe academic, personal, professional, and even legal consequences. Examples of misrepresentation include contract cheating, collusion, improper copying of words and structures, recycling your own work, and improper quoting and paraphrasing. Intellectual output applies to all works or ideas of others, whether you read them, see them, or hear them. How do your professors know if you're plagiarizing? They are subject specialists and familiar with literature in their field. Instructors will recognize ideas that have been discussed before and vocabulary terms or jargon specific to their area of expertise. So if you don't cite these, they'll know. If your assignment greatly exceeds the subject knowledge of other students in your class, your instructors will notice. They can also spot differences in writing styles. You have your own distinct way of writing, and an instructor can identify what was written by someone else. They will notice if your writing differs significantly from one assignment to another. Developing your skills takes time, so if you suddenly write like a pro, your instructor will notice. They can judge if your writing exceeds your level of study. Writing well takes a lot of practice, so submitting writing as eloquent as a seasoned writer will raise a red flag. They spot check your sources for proper quoting, proper paraphrasing, or accuracy of the citation. They can Google too. If you copied something from the internet, they can find that easily. They may check online tutoring services for uploaded materials. They may use a plagiarism device, such as SafeAssign through Blackboard. Most students attend college classes to learn skills they need to be successful in life. They embrace learning new skills and excelling in their classes. If you are one of these students, you will be glad that plagiarism is condemned because you truly want to learn and you want honest feedback from your instructors so you can grow to be the best you can be. You don't want another student who cheats to make a better grade than you do when you are really trying and improving. Instructors also want students like you to succeed, and that's why they try to stop plagiarism in their classes. Only students who do not take pride in their ethics and learning will be upset if plagiarism is not condoned. Your Comp 1 and Comp 2 classes will teach you how to write essays without cheating. They will teach you how to express yourself and how to use research and sources ethically and correctly. Quoting and paraphrasing improperly often lead to accidental plagiarism. Why is plagiarism such a big issue? Plagiarism is an academic integrity violation because taking credit for someone else's intellectual output is ethically wrong. You are plagiarizing even if the original author agrees that you can use their output or if you pay to use it. As you saw previously in this lesson, plagiarizing even applies to reusing your own work without citing it. The key takeaway from this lesson is that you are committing an act of plagiarism anytime you pretend something is your own output and that is new and original when it isn't. If you see yourself as a responsible and ethical person, student, or professional, you will strive not to plagiarize, not just because you might get caught, but because you take pride in yourself and in your work.